Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. It's the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions from the worlds of TV, film, pop culture, social media, sports, everything really. Depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter you know me as PD Beats. My guest does a lot of things. He acts, he hosts, he writes, he's a comedian. He does a lot of things, wears many hats. We are with none other than Kramer Glickman. Steven, welcome to Popternative, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It means a lot. Big fan of the show. So thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. And this interview, I'm pretty sure, is like a year in the making, which is exciting.
Yeah, no. We've been talking about doing this for quite some time, and just trying to find the right time to make it work. I'm so happy to come on and do this.
So I kind of mentioned it off the cuff. You do wear many hats in the entertainment industry. How important is that to wear many hats?
It's different for different people, man. There are stand-up comedians that only do stand-up, and I have an enormous amount of respect for those people. There are comedy writers that only write comedy and they don't work on anything else. And there are actors that are that act for a living. That is their job. They've made it the only thing that they do, and that's totally fine. But for me, when I was young, somebody said, you have to pick something to focus on. You don't want to be like a jack of all trades and master of none. And I remember hearing that and being like, I hate that. I want to do, how about I just do whatever the hell I want to do with my life and my career. And I think it was my mom that said to me, you can do whatever you want in your life and in your career, but you have to know that you're going to have to work very, very hard to be able to accomplish all the things that you want to do. Like if you decide that you want to get into animation, like you can float from one thing to another, but you have to be damn good at those things to be able to make a living. So you better be willing to put in the time. So that's kind of what my life has been, is that I've been doing stand-up for 16 years, and I perform a few times a month. There was a time, like right before I did my album, I performed 35 times in the month before my album came out, where it just became the full focus of everything I was trying to do. Yep. And then this past year, I spent most of my time writing comedy, like writing a TV show, and everything else falls by the wayside, and everything becomes about that. And I get super hyper focused and work super hard, and that's all I think about all day and night. And it's hard for me to be focused on more than one thing at a time. Yeah. But when I am focused on something, I'm like hyper focused. But then, things that I've gotten good at over the years, it doesn't mess that up. So it's like, if I'm working as an actor and that's where all my focus is, but then I get booked for a stand-up comedy show. Mm-hmm. I've been doing stand-up for so long, it's a muscle, and I just have to kind of work it out a little bit, and then I'm kind of back in the swing of things,
No, absolutely. No, it's amazing. I mean, you've done a lot of really cool things. I mean, we're going to mention it right now. I mean, Big Time Rush on Nickelodeon, Gustavo Rock. I talked to you about it. One of my favorite, underrated, pretty underrated character from the Nickelodeon shows. Because, a lot of people say I look like Josh Peck from Drake and Josh. So,
sure.
Yeah. I don't know if you see that, but...
With better hair.
But Nickelodeon had some amazing shows, and I enjoyed Big Time Rush, and your tenure on Big Time Rush looked like, I'm sure it was a blast, right?
It was a fantastic time. It was ridiculous amount of fun. It completely, utterly changed every aspect of my life. Making like making a television show where you're going into work every week and being funny and getting paid to do funny stuff and getting to spend time with very funny people and learning from them. It was just extraordinary. I absolutely loved it.
No, absolutely. It's a crazy time right now, the quarantine and COVID-19, but what I'm noticing is content consumption has been like it's never been before. Like, people are just kind of eating all kinds of content. Like, my show's numbers have been crazy lately. Like, it's nuts right now.
Yeah. Content consumption during this time period you are 100% right about that.
Like, I feel like we knew it was going to be big, but it's like some of my friends mentioned that, like, oh, you might get more views on your show and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe, but like, it's nuts.
Yeah, like just on my podcast on the nighttime show, we've been trying we were like, maybe we should try to record some episodes over the phone or do some Zoom episodes or do something like this, like during this time. And then we started reaching out to the people that we wanted on our show, that we've wanted for a while, and just started getting yeses and yeses and yeses. And you're like, oh,
same with me as well. Yeah, me too.
Wow. Yeah, right.
Well,
it's awesome.
with you, basically.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan. I watch I've watched almost every episode of 90 Day Fiance, and I was like, there's this guy Big Ed who's on the show who has he has no neck, like his head connects.
he's becoming a big meme. They're using him in memes.
Yeah. So I went after him and I got him, and we're interviewing him later this week. And that's
amazing.
I'm like, that's so fun. Like, I love that. Like, we're kind of pulling moves, during this time period. Well, that's because you and I are both Canadians. I think we're both. We're
great people.
We're trying to find the positive in the difficult times. That's what Canadians do.
But it's pretty crazy, and we'll get into, because you've been working on some really cool stuff during the quarantine, and I really want to talk about that. But before we get into that too, because you can relate to this question I'm about to ask, because you were kind of around with the Big Time Rush, right? I mean, these are like the stars of the band. Like, these are kids, you know what I mean? They're and they got overwhelmed with a lot of like fame and recognition, and they had a lot of press to do. And there's a show right now on Netflix, Steven, that's just like called Outer Banks, right? Which is just it's basically, people are relating, it's like the new age, OC, One Tree Hill, that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
But it's like been out for like 2 weeks, and it's like insanity. And I've interviewed a few of the people, and that's kind of where a lot of my views have been up the roof. But like, it's just, I mean, you saw it with Big Time Rush. I mean, it's nuts right now. It's nuts for those kids, right?
Oh yeah, that is insane. It's insane.
Like, what's going through their minds? Like, it's hard to. I mean, it's a bit different during the quarantine because they don't have to go places. But like, did you ever give advice to the guys on Big Time Rush?
I mean, I talked to Kendall. I've talked to Kendall probably 3 or 4 times during coronavirus time. Just he's the one that, and I talked to Logan a little bit, and I talked to James once. Carlos and I haven't really. We've only spoken realistically maybe once or twice in the last few years.
Yeah.
Mostly because he's married and he has 2 kids, and he's very busy with what he's got going on in his life. But we text and stuff, him and I, but not as much. But with Kendall, like, Kendall and I, spent like an hour on the phone the other day, just kind of talking about what's going on. And I'm so curious to see like how they're handling things. And they're trying so hard to just stay safe and to eat healthy and to just be, careful, and the fans, and encouraging the fans to like do the same.
Yeah.
And you know,
they're influential people if you think about it. These people on these big shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, like, I've been doing live streams on Instagram every day where I talk to fans on Instagram, and I feel like that is probably like the best way to communicate with fans is to do it like on a Instagram live kind of thing, because
I've been doing a lot of Instagram lives.
I think those are great. I think they're great, and I think it's a nice way to connect with people and you know, kind of check in on the
it's quarantine time. Maybe I'll ask you to do an Instagram live with me. Maybe you'll say yes. You never know.
Absolutely, Pete. Are you kidding me? Of course. You want to do an Instagram live? We'll do it anytime you want.
No, but it's for sure. You say you talk about Kendall, but also specifically, like when that show came out, like they had a lot of popularity at a quick time too. Nickelodeon had the formula where the show kind of got posted into the world, right? The debut, the worldwide premiere of Big Time Rush, right? And then it just catches like fire instantly, right? So you're, you know, you're like one of the grown-ups on this show, right? And I'm sure it's one of those things where they must have maybe came up to you and been like, is there anything you could say? Like, did they ever ask for advice?
I'll give you the real stuff. The president of the network at the time, who no longer is the president of Nickelodeon, I said to her just a couple days before it came out, wow, the pilot is so funny. I really hope that kids like the show. And she said, they will. And I said, no, I know, but like, I hope that they enjoy it, you know? And she said, they will enjoy it. What are you talking about? And I was like, no, I know. I'm just saying that I'm excited to like see their reaction. And she was like, we know their reaction. They're gonna love it. And I was like, yeah, but how do you know? And she was like, Steven, let me explain something to you. We're gonna tell these kids that if they don't watch the show, they shouldn't go to school on Monday. That's what we're gonna tell them. We're gonna make these kids feel like this show is the most important show like in the history of their lives, and they are going to absolutely be obsessed with it. We are making sure that is how that goes. And I was like, how do you do that? And she was like, because like, how can you be sure that that's how you do that? And she was like, we're Nickelodeon. That's like, we know how to do this. We know how to make a television show that is a hit, which is an interesting thing to say, because that is the kind of thought process that Disney Channel usually, that's a Disney Channel thought process. That is when Disney created Wizards of Waverly Place and Sunny with a Chance and Miley Cyrus, 1000% they knew that those shows were going to be massive star-making successful shows. And
100%.
And the reason they knew that is because the amount of money and marketing that they put into those shows differentiates from other shows that they were just kind of hoping they just put on the network.
Yeah.
And if you look at Nickelodeon during that time period, they had iCarly, which was a pretty big successful show.
Yep.
But aside from iCarly, they had a couple other weird shows that were great. They had True Jackson VP, which with Kiki Palmer. They had Super Ninjas. What's that?
Super Ninjas, yep.
Yeah, they had Super Ninjas. The marketing and energy that went into our show in comparison to the marketing energy that went into Super Ninjas is like not even on the same plane. It's like the difference between telling people they should watch your YouTube channel and putting out a Marvel, Infinity War. Like the money and time that went into putting our show was like extremely a big deal, because not only did you have Nickelodeon pushing the show out, you had Sony pushing the show out because of all the music. So it was, the bigger the show was, the more financially beneficial the show would be to all these huge giant companies. And it taught me a lot about also telling people that something is cool instead of asking people if something is cool. Yep. That is a massive lesson I learned from Nickelodeon, and it's something that I've used in business, and it's something I use in my, in my life. Sure. It's like, I don't apologize for the way that I dress or the way that I conduct myself when it comes to like companies and business and marketing myself, because I learned from the best possible people on how to do that. And also to to that extent, to be able to like give fans what they want.
Yep.
By not being like an inappropriate piece, not being an asshole about it. Like, for example, I know I'm talking way too much, but like my stand-up album that just came out. Now there are like a bajillion stand-up comedians. Very few stand-up comedians are clean comedians where their material is clean, right? So I wanted to make sure that like my entire fan base could listen to the album and not maybe get offended, sure, but as far as language is concerned, I recorded a clean album, which was a gigantic pain in the ass trying to learn how to perform without saying
where could people get the album? Because I was gonna ask. It's like you knew what I was gonna ask. Because we gotta talk about Storks. I'm gonna ask about Storks quickly, but I was about to just kind of throw it down the middle and just be like, what have you been up to lately? And I was hoping you were gonna bring up the stand-up album.
Doing an album was a good idea, but it was also a smart business idea too, to make sure that it was clean, because like we did the album in hopes that SiriusXM would buy the album and then and like put the tracks on all their networks and stuff, and 9 out of 12 tracks I think were chosen to go up on across everything, that were clean enough and so everyone can listen to it. So it's like I'm not trying to play down to people, but I also want to play by enough rules that people actually will listen to it and pay attention to it. And
for sure, where could people listen to it? Like, plug away. Like, where could they find it?
Sure, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, SiriusXM, the Alexa app. You can listen to it anywhere, man. It's everywhere.
And I do want to mention like Storks. I mean, you must have had a blast, providing a voice of a character like that character. I mean, that character had they say like cult following. Like Tony had like a bit of like a cult following, didn't he?
Pigeon Toadie's got a bit of a cult following. There are some people in the world with tattoos of the Pigeon Toadie on their arms, which is so weird. But that was like a crazy experience. That was like, working on Storks is probably it beats out everything that I've ever worked on. I mean, Big Time Rush was an amazing experience, but nothing compares to like being a Big Time Rush was like, we were all big fish in our own pond. We were all big fish at our network. We weren't really like, but big fish in a small pond as far as being like all of television. Like we weren't on NBC or CBS. Like we were on Nickelodeon, and that was awesome. But working for Warner Brothers and working alongside Andy Samberg and Jennifer Aniston and Kelsey Grammer and Nick Stoller directing, and where every person in the room is way more famous than you, and their careers are much, much bigger, and you're just like, oh my God, please don't fire me. I'm having such a good time. That was like my brain for 3 years.
Well, Steven, this interview was a year in the making, and I am so happy we were able to do it, and it was worth the wait. Thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man.
Well, you are a wonderful and talented guy, man, and I think that this is a great show, and you know, having me on, it means a lot. As a fellow Canadian, this means a great deal. So thanks so much for having me on, and yeah, we should chat again soon.
Absolutely. Where can people follow you on social media? Like, plug away, keep up. Like, where can they follow you to keep up to date with everything?
No worries. Yeah, the places to get me are at Stephen Glickman, Stephen Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and then yeah, I know.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No.
We didn't even get into TikTok, dude.
You're the first person to like plug their TikTok like spontaneously right now.
Oh, dude, the TikTok. What is this app that's happening? It's insane.
I know. A lot of dancing. There wasn't as much dancing on Vine.
Oh my God, dude, I'm 41 years old. Okay. I'm 41. I was like, I do not need to be on TikTok. And my girlfriend was like, you got to join. There's so many people on there. Absolutely. I joined at the end of October of this past year, and I have 329,000 followers.
Oh my goodness.
In the last 30 days, I've done 7 million video views. 7 million. That's 3 times what I do on Instagram.
That's amazing.
It's outrageous.
Congrats, dude. No, congrats. So congrats, and thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm a big fan of you, dude. I really am.
I'm a big fan of you too. And thanks so much for having me come on. And if you want to check out my podcast, you can check out thenighttimeshow.com. That's
absolutely
the easiest place.
I'll put all the links in the description. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. And until next time, this is Stephen Kramer Glickman and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.